Right. So just to give us a little preface, this was one that you added to the notes. So when you added it to the notes, what were you thinking? Did you have a scenario that you had experienced, or is this a
Honestly,
common theme that you deal with?
yeah, it's seeing the what brought it to mind was the repeatability of it all. Everyone, I mean, everyone's individualistic, but I mean, you could literally place people in categories within the first 2 minutes of talking to them. Their
Right.
first initial conversation, I can almost always get them placed in a category within the first 2 minutes. And once I place them in that category, that automatically shifts my mind, my question process, my thought process, my delivery, everything. So just because there was so much commonality and so people fitting so well into categories, I figured it was a good chance to talk in summary on the different personalities when it comes to training and compliance and um, a lot of the frustrations to it, as well as the good side. So um, open it up for us, kind of.
Well, let's stick with your scenario first. So
Okay.
so we talk about categories. Let's not get like down into the let's not like dissect it too much, but let's say if we had maybe three or four categories, and what are the characteristics of those categories? Like you're in your initial interview with a client, you very early on, within that first 90 seconds or so, you kind of get an idea of what type of client this is going to be, and then you categorize them according to what you expect from them based on that very quick assessment. So
Hmm.
so what, like, can you come up with a name for the categories, and then maybe a couple
Sure.
characteristics for each category?
Yeah. So essentially, there's going to be kind of the categories and characteristics are similar in terms of the way my mind processes it. And what I mean by that is depending on what is most prevalent is where I'll categorize them and then also address them with those characteristics. So there tends to be um, the knowledge category, whether it's too little knowledge, a lot of knowledge, or the worst, not the worst one, but the hardest one to deal with is the uh, perceived high amount of knowledge, but that knowledge is incorrect.
Okay.
It's really hard to talk to that person when they think they have it right.
Right. Right.
It's one thing to be not knowledgeable and receptive or knowledgeable and correct, but when you're knowledgeable and incorrect, it's
Right.
a it's a struggle to get reception there. So there's the knowledge route, there's the emotional route, right? They're coming to you that they're not in this place of wanting the science or interested in exercise and nutrition. They're just there for help. It's just another piece for them, and they tend to have some emotional standards involved. And then after the knowledge and the emotion, there's the I guess unrealistic and sporadic and just like intense person who it's really hard to just like reel in and get focused. Those would be the three. I mean, there's definitely more categories, but those are the three that come forefront to mind in
Okay.
terms of um, putting them in categories. And I'm sure know what I mean because of how
Oh,
common it is.
yeah, absolutely. So those are three, let's say, problematic categories, and then for the sake of balance, let's throw out one like that's an ideal person that comes to you. Maybe this person is, the theoretical empty vessel. They just come in, they have some loosely related goals, and they're like clay in the potter's hands. Like, hey, just
Yeah.
just so describe to me, maybe a positive personality.
Definitely. not even positive, but just like the easiest one to deal with, right? And that comes with a combination of the three, but in two different routes. So there's the one route where they are highly knowledgeable, emotionally stable, rocking and rolling, but focused. They're just there to get your input and to hash out a plan together. It's a real upbeat, high-end conversation. You guys are feeding off each other almost, and it's nothing but just machine guns and happiness going off. Then there's the other side where it's low knowledge, but not necessarily like ignorance. Just low knowledge in the fact of just not, it's not their profession and they don't care. Low knowledge, but highly receptive, not emotional. Just here, like, kind of, hey doc, here's my issue. Tell me what to do. I'm going to execute it. That was the last client I had recently. He was there for a checkup. He wasn't interested in anything exercise or nutrition related. However, he made appropriate adjustments based off our conversation, respected and was extremely receptive and just executed. Did he execute because he was super motivated to be into exercise and nutrition? No, he executed because it's what he had to do and he was going to do it. And if he was going to do it, he was going to do it right, and then it was just cut and dry, high compliance there. So definitely not an upbeat conversation, just a very dry, matter of fact, A plus B equals C. I'm going to make sure A and B line up and I'm going to get C, and that's how it's going to be. So. Right.
Okay. So that gives me a little bit of a palette to paint with. So sure. The first thing, and this kind of is a throwback to our goal setting discussion, is as I'm talking to an initial client, I'm checking off blocks. I'm taking them through the flow chart and I'm checking off blocks. And just like you said, it's no different. It's exactly what you said about trying to categorize this person. And that's a term that I call the box. So okay. Trying to figure out which box they fit in, because once you can put them in a box, you generally know what to expect from people in that box based on prior experiences. And there generally is some truth to that. It's not like, of course, you don't write anybody off in that initial 90 seconds, but my experience is, that first impression, that gut feeling is usually pretty accurate, so that's so my approach very similar. The thing after I categorize them, the next check point in my mind is some sort of needs assessment. So this person came to you seeking some sort of physical training, some sort of guidance with the physical aspect of their life, their success, their growth, whatever. Now, the thing is, you don't know what picture physical training they've painted in their own mind.
Right.
You have no way of knowing that. So now you have to, through your questioning process, you have to kind of figure out, you have to kind of assess, where is this person? What picture have they painted? And am I willing to help them create this picture that they've painted? What's it going to take? So each person is slightly different, but the very first step for me is to make sure that I myself am coming from stable footing, so to speak. So
what do you mean?
Making sure that I'm not bringing too many of my own biases into the assessment. So, for example, I know how I approach my own fitness, as do you. Your philosophy, your psychology when it comes to the expectations that you place on yourself. And to some extent that becomes your brand, but at the same time, as a professional, we have to meet the client where they are.
Right.
So I may have a vision of what, and I'll give you an example. We were talking earlier about my newest client, and he would be the last person that you described. He's not very knowledgeable about training. He's very receptive to everything that I tell him to do. He does it. He doesn't question. He takes correction well. He's very teachable. He's really just an ideal client.
Mm-hmm.
But to look at him, he's just like a monster of a guy. Like he must have like grown up on a farm or something. No, he's just like a
big bone.
Right. He's just a hulking monster of a guy. And I picture him like, man, once we get him trained, he's gonna be an absolute beast.
Right.
But that's my vision for him, and that may not match the picture that he's painted for himself.
Sure.
So at every step of the journey, I have to be sure to assess his needs and make sure that I'm meeting him where he is, and that we're on the journey together. Not that I'm necessarily trying to paint him into my picture, so to speak, or so. And that's I don't spend a whole lot of time there, but I do make sure that I check the block to where I make sure that I'm self-aware enough to know that I'm not bringing my own biases into this assessment. So, usually I check that block off real quick, and then I can immediately focus on, okay, what are the needs of the client? So, I'll give you a couple examples based on the picture that you painted. So we have the first client, the knowledgeable client. So this is a person who I wrote down a couple things. This is basically the know-it-all. Like, hey, I watched some videos on YouTube. I'm a faithful subscriber to Muscle and Fitness. I'm the smart guy. So I know everything about training, and I'm just coming to you so you can validate how smart I am. So this person may, and it's
how do you make that a productive conversation? How do you instead of feeding into it, or maybe you do feed into it, because no matter who the client is or what they're dealing with, we want to give them some value when it comes to that know-it-all, and we don't want to like make him sound bad. He may in fact have a lot of experience and stuff, but with the cockiness, how do we address that person and still have them take away something genuine from us?
And this is the thing, depending on, and we haven't quite gotten to that part of the assessment process. So so I won't go real deep into your question because some of that comes later. But okay. The short answer of how do we add value to this person is, we, as tactfully as is appropriate, we get them to start questioning their logic. So
kind of having them come up with the answer kind of mindset.
Right. And it's, well, because this person is so overconfident, they're so cocky in their knowledge, but obviously their knowledge is not based on sound logic, not all the way through. There are holes in that logic somewhere. Mm-hmm. So as subtly as we, in a professional manner, we start to poke holes in that logic. Like, okay, so this is what you believe about this particular lift, or this is what you believe about body composition or strength training or whatever. Obviously, even though they are supremely confident in those beliefs, they don't have the experience that you have. So there are plenty of holes in that logic where you can start to break down that foundation. And that's where you start to see, okay, I'm not gonna tear this person down in a confrontational manner, but I'm gonna subtly start putting cracks in their foundation and see how they react to it. That does a couple things. Number one, it starts to tell that person, hey, I'm not saying that you're an idiot by any means, but I am saying that there are things that you might want to be aware of. So I would just start asking questions. Okay, well, there was a study where XYZ happened, and they proved that your belief is not 100%. It's not true in 100% of cases. So what do you think about that? And it's not necessarily in a, hey, smart guy, I'm smarter than you. It's just hey, so what do you think about this? I read a study the other day that really questioned that method of training, or that method of nutrition, or you know what? I know that supplementation plays a big part of your program. However, all of my research leads to this conclusion with regard to supplementation. So what are your thoughts on that? And based on the know-it-all's answer to those questions, you can see, do you even have room in there to work with that person at all? Because for all we know, this person...
So you're gauging their response. That's the
Right.
most important part.
Right. Is this person, will they ever come around? Will they respect me for the amount of work that I have put in, that I can deliver the result that I intend to deliver? I can help them more than what their faulty logic will help them. So that's where, and sometimes it takes a while to build that trusting relationship, but that person has to even be willing to start a trusting relationship. For all we know, this person doesn't want training at all. They just want to come debate, and I don't have time for that.
Sure.
I don't have time for everything I say to be questioned. And this is, I recently started training and floor coaching at UA, and it took a little while for the clients, because I was the new kid on the block. It took,
right.
And I saw them.
To get your street cred.
Right. I saw the look on their face when I offered a suggestion, and I saw that some of them totally blew me off. But now it's gotten to the point, and we're only like a couple weeks in, to where now people are listening to what I'm saying,
Sure.
So it's like, it just took a little while. They had to see my face. They had to, like you said, I had to earn just a little bit of street cred. I had to get my hands dirty a little bit with them, and for them to really trust and value the information that I was putting forth. So that first category, that know-it-all person,
that's going to take some time. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of rapport building before there's any jumping into some deep stuff.
The thing is, when you start to question their logic, you can tell immediately, is this person, do they take that as a threat and they start pushing back immediately? Or, you can look at a person and you can see the wheels spinning.
Sure.
It's like, okay,
I just chewing on it.
Right. I just dropped a nugget on him. He's going to go home. He's going to ponder it. He's going to look it up. He's probably going to read the study that I just referenced. But that's going to build rapport. When he comes back to you next time, it's like, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about,
Sure.
So I trust him to guide me to where I'm going to go. And that may end up being, a very independent person. That may be the person where you say, hey man, I know you're working on X, go check out this study I read. Tell me what you think about it. And that may become a person that is not necessarily looking at you as the expert up on high, but they wanna engage with you as more of a peer, or it can just be the jerk who wants to validate his knowledge, and I don't have time to engage in those types of conversations. So that's going to be a really short relationship,
Sure.
So that's that person. Then, touching on the emotional type. So now it's like, okay, what does this person need? They may have had an emotional event in their life, life change, divorce, a loss in the family. Maybe they just got dumped or, something like that. And now they're coming to us as a way to say, hey, I'm not the victim anymore. You can't walk all over me. I'm going to get my life together. I'm getting in shape and I'm doing this, that, and the third. And the thing with that person is we have to be careful. This is something that, I, and Ray talk about quite a bit. This is where we want to stay within our scope of practice. Like we know of all the myriad benefits of physical training and how, it does affect mood. It does affect mental clarity. It does affect stuff like sleep. It does affect focus and confidence and all of that. So is this person in a place where I can coach them into some physical activity that will bring some balance to their life, and it will start to iron out some of these emotional imbalances? Or is this someone that you really need to take a step back? You need to be at peace with this event or with whatever is going on, and I'm not the person to offer that service to you.
Sure.
We can.
I'm just here to train you, man.
Right. It's like
sometimes that's what it comes down to. Like, whoa, bro.
But at the same time, we do wear a lot of hats as the trainer. Yeah. We are brothers and sisters and fathers and therapists and pastors and motivational coaches. We are all of those things, but we are those things within a certain scope, within a certain lane. And if you're going through some really, really intense emotional episode and you're looking at fitness to solve that problem, we know that that's not gonna work. That's not a long-term fix. Even though you may be feeling horrible and then you get in that awesome workout session and you feel great afterward, but it's almost like there's a scene, and I absolutely love the scene. I won't speak on the movie, but I love this scene in the movie. I think it was called Get 'Em to the Greek. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, I think that's that crude comedy movie.
Yeah. So the thing was, and this was yesteryear. I probably wouldn't watch that movie today, but there's a scene that absolutely sticks out, and there's the Russell Brand character, and he constantly referenced he had the tattoos on his neck, 9 years sober, yada yada yada, and there's a scene in there where he's talking to his wife, and she was telling him about his addictive personality and the challenges, the emotional challenges that he had wrestled with all his life. And he's like, what are you talking about? Look at this. I'm 9 years sober. And she's like, no, you gave up heroin and you started doing yoga for 9 hours a day.
So one vice to the next.
Right. She's like, you can turn anything into heroin. And it's like, I'm like, wow. Like that was one profound nugget of value
from this dumbass movie.
Horrible movie. But that is gold. I'm taking that with me. So that's the, we don't.
I do notice that with emotional clients and in the setting I'm at now, it's not so prevalent because of the lack of frequency that I see them. But in the gym setting with the emotional client in that state, you've got to be careful because it's great that you're potentially the rock and the cement in their life, but there can be some like
Right.
a deeper cling there, and so with that comes a lot of I don't want to say like boundaries crossed or anything like that. I don't mean in that route, but
that's absolutely what it is.
but not in the sense that some might think it. More in the sense of, like, look, you're missing the point here. We're here to train.
Right.
I'm here to make sure things are good, but they can cling to you in an unhealthy way sometimes.
Well, this is, and there's a very factual, very psychological basis to that. We talk about all the benefits of exercise, and let's say you, strength and conditioning coach, a client comes to you, you don't necessarily know where they are emotionally, you don't know where they are mentally, but basically you took this person who may have had some very significant mental, physical and emotional and spiritual challenges, and you put them on a program that could very well have been the catalyst that balanced all of those factors out. So now all of a sudden you're not a personal trainer. It's like you're a messiah,
Sure.
It's like, and then it's like, oh, well, and let's talk about trainers. Trainers tend to be fit. They tend to care about their looks. They tend to care about what they eat. They tend to be, at least to some extent, balanced. They tend to be all these things. So now you have this client who may have, some physical attraction to their trainer just by virtue of the fact that, this is a person who has characteristics that they like, and then you throw in that emotional, spiritual, and mental, and it's like now you have dynamite. It's
Right.
like,
Sure.
it's like you have this somewhat attractive person who, and it's not just physical attractiveness. This person is attractive on several levels. They're driven, they're confident, they're intelligent, they're proficient in their craft, and
they get you for this 1 hour a day, and all they see is all the good stuff. So then
Right.
they're creating this
now
fake
fantasy. Right.
Yeah, fantasy.
Right.
Yeah.
This unreal expectation of their trainer, this person who took them from where they were to where they are now. This person literally walks on water to them, and now, as professionals, we have to conduct ourselves as such.
Sure.
And we have to, all right, let's pull it back. Let's keep those boundaries right where they are. And, we won't go into people who have less scrupulous practices, but
sure. But the deeper issue is understanding, the severity of that emotional client,
right.
and keeping it in mind so that you can be, in the right mindset to take them on and continue to help them,
Right. It's like you're the person who gets to be their like number one cheerleader. You're motivating them, you're pumping them up, you're making them feel. It's like they can come to you after a horrible day and leave feeling like on top of the world because all you did is poured good energy into them. And then they walk out, and now all of a sudden you're the source of that good feeling, and it's,
Sure.
And like you said, it's a snapshot. It's just a small sliver of who you are as a person, but they may be painting you as this, greater image than what it really is, and we have to be mindful to always dial it back. Let's meet this person where they are. Let's keep those boundaries firmly planted where they are. And, I love that you feel more confident. I love that you're, feeling good about yourself, feeling good about your body. I'm glad that all of these things are doing what they're supposed to do, but let's keep it in place. Let's stay focused and keep this relationship where it needs to be. And,
Sure.
so So for the emotional person, it's understanding that what the field that we're in touches on so many different aspects of a person's life that to some extent it's understandable that they develop these attachments. So
right, and in no means do we, we're not here to like put down the highly educated know-it-all or the emotional person. We're just talking about how to handle them and things to look for and yeah, it's like you said, it's not necessarily a bad thing. We just got to be mindful of it and use it in a positive manner.
Right, and that's where it goes back to checkpoint number one for me is I need to have the humility, and I need to be self-aware enough to know, like, okay, I have assessed this person. I have what I believe to be a fair understanding of where they are and what they need, and I may not be able to provide that. So
sure.
And it may be that I'm not the trainer for them. It may be that I'm not the professional for them. I need to be able to refer them to the right person that can help them, because that's what this is all about. We're in a profession to help people. That's why we all got into this,
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, it is, what can I do to best help this person? So like you said, we're not putting anybody down. We're saying that I need to be able to run through this checklist, to put together my assessment, and to figure out what is in the best interest of this person that's sitting across from me. And am I able to provide that, or am I not?
Right. Right.
So, and the person with the unrealistic expectations, that goes with the emotional thing, that it runs very closely to that, to figure out what's really going on behind the scenes. Why do they have these unrealistic expectations? And can I pull them back to something that's realistic, sustainable, evidence-based? And are they going to be happy with that?
Yeah, let's dive into that one, because that's the one that I struggle with the most currently in my job, because and it could be due to my personality, but the person that's just unrealistic in expectations and unrealistic in what they're doing, the only thing that I myself have to work with is just when I see this person, I revert to facts, because like how else do I address you if we don't get the foundation straight? So when they come to me with their unrealistic expectations or what they're doing unrealistically, like for example, what I get a lot of times is somebody who's overweight and they swear by everything holy that they're in a calorie deficit. And, on top of that, they give me some ridiculous number. Oh, I'm only eating 900 calories a day, and they're telling me all this, but then they're 150 pounds overweight and morbidly obese, and that's the hardest conversation that I struggle to make productive, because my go-to way is just to kind of in the most graceful way I can present the facts, and it usually goes something along the lines of hinting at something to make them put it together, like they'll tell me, oh, I'm only eating 900 calories a day, but I'm 200 pounds overweight. My response will be something like, well, the definition of weight loss is a caloric deficit. So we need to figure out, and I pray to God they put two and two together and realize what I'm saying. But there's got to be more to it than just presenting facts. Like I really struggle to tackle this client.
Right. And that definitely is where I would step in, because that's more of a behavioral component. And the number one question that I would have to find a way to figure out is, this person obviously needs some behavior change intervention. Where are they on that change inventory? So we can use some hypotheticals there, and I don't know. I don't want to get really deep into it, but are you familiar with the change stages of change model?
Mm-hmm.
So we know that at the pre-contemplation phase.
Well, let's throw them all out there: pre-contemplative, contemplative,
Right.
preparation,
Preparation,
and
action,
then
and maintenance.
right. Just for everyone listening.
Right. So
go for it.
So, and I'll give a quick rundown of that pre-contemplation phase. They don't even realize that they need to change, that they are not even aware that there is a behavior that needs to change. So there's really, the only thing you can do for that person is try to provide encouragement. That's where you try to provide facts. That's where you try to provide information, but
hope something sticks.
Right. Because we are totally incapable of helping that person until they move into the next stage. So that's pre-contemplation, not even aware that anything needs to change. Then we go into contemplation. That's where they are aware that something needs to change, but they may not necessarily be ready to make that change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that is where
I know who I am, but I'm comfortable with who I am.
Right. I got this. I got this report from the doctor.
Pre-contemplation is almost exclusively every single smoker out there. There isn't a smoker in the world that doesn't know smoking's bad for him.
Right. And that would be that smoking is slightly different because
okay.
they have
that just opened up a can of worms there.
Yeah. Well, it's slightly different because, you know, you can look at every box of cigarettes. It has the warning on there, right? So there's no one who doesn't know. Like you said, everyone knows smoking is bad for you. So at some point, they're at the stage, and it may be contemplation. They may be aware that something needs to happen, but then they start coming in with the justifiable, but they find reasons to justify their actions.
Sure.
You know, and then they give themselves excuses for why they should not go into the next phase of preparation. They may be contemplating a change, but they never go into preparation because
preparation is when the struggle of the addiction is starting to
right.
be fought.
Right. So sticking with your client, the person who is obese, and they're making these illogical statements, or at least statements that are not supported by observable evidence. So they're past pre-contemplation. They've gotten to contemplation to where they may realize that something needs to change. They may have stepped into preparation, and that's how they got in front of you. Mm-hmm. You know, they're like, okay, I'm gonna hire me a trainer, and that could very well be where the unrealistic expectation comes in. It's like, hey, I'm gonna lay down this money on the table. I'm gonna slide it across to this trainer, and that is going to give me the result that I'm looking for.
That's my magic pill.
Right. Okay. All right. Because they've tried several other magic pills before they got to you. Of course, they're not going to tell you that. They tried the cabbage soup diet. They tried the juice cleanse. They tried the supplements. They tried Weight Watchers. They tried all of, and that's not to put down. Well, I'm putting down the cabbage diet and the juice.
Yeah, please do.
I'll put that down. I don't have a problem putting that down. That we could throw the lemonade diet in there too. Yeah, all of those are trash.
Sure.
I would, and I've said this several times, I don't put down anybody's training program. I don't put down anybody's nutrition program, because within reason, any one of those programs can deliver results if properly adhered to.
Right.
The ones that we totally discard are just trash.
The radicals.
Right. that they don't create sustainable change. I'll put it that way. So, Weight Watchers, paleo, whatever program is popular today has potential to create some degree of change if properly adhered to, if properly administered.
Right.
So I have my personal thoughts on the most effective style of eating and the most effective style of fitness and training, but I don't put down anyone else's preference because it's highly individual. As a behavior coach, I want to know, what are you able to do every day for the rest of your life? And that's what I want you to do. So if you're not prepared to give up carbs for the rest of your life, I would suggest you don't even do it. Don't
even toy with the idea.
Right. Don't even play with it today. Don't say, hey, but I'm gonna get this quick result. Yeah, we like to hit a homer every now and again, but it's at what expense? How would you feel, in 60 days? Let's say you do this program for 30 days, you lose a bunch of weight, but then you gradually start creeping back up around the 60-day mark, because it's not sustainable. I'd rather you be on that long, slow journey toward permanent change than give you a quick win up front that may end up costing you somewhere down the road.
Right.
So, if you foreseeably are not going to be able to give up meat or carbs or whatever it is, if you're not foreseeably going to be able to do this intermittent fasting for the rest of your life, don't do it now. I mean,
let's not waste our time. Let's get to the serious stuff.
Because any one of these programs will deliver results if properly adhered to, and yada yada yada. So let's just put you on the right program and just stick with it. That thing is fixed. We've got it. We don't have to touch that for a while.
Right.
So let's just put that in place. But for the person that has those unrealistic expectations, we have to start wondering, okay, what stage of change is this person in? And as a professional who is familiar with the stages of change, I know that there are prescriptions for each stage.
Mm-hmm.
So for the person that is in that preparation phase, and they're making these illogical claims about their caloric intake versus their caloric output.
Yeah, the preparation stage, it gets a weird accent to it when you have people distort reality. It's that preparation phase, but now you got a special barrier to it, and that can be with any stage when you have to deal with false facts or wrong perceptions. It cants that stage you're in, and it really puts a knot in it, and that's the whole reason why I struggle with it.
Absolutely. And we haven't even touched on the marketing aspect. The fact everyone out there that's trying to sell you something is going to tell you what you want to hear.
Bingo.
Hey, what do you want to hear? How would you like to lose weight? What result?
Isn't that the craziest thing? How would you like to lose weight? Yeah,
right.
That person put on the weight. They're coming to somebody to learn how to take it. How would you like? That's the craziest thing ever. I'm laughing because those words have been said.
Right. How
would you like to lose weight? Are you kidding me?
Right.
Hey, Doc, I want my open heart surgery to go like.
Right.
What the heck? So.
Right. And that equally goes for the person who may not be super unrealistic, but I had a person come to me the other day, and we were talking about goals, and she pretty much definitively said, well, I don't really want the nutrition consult because I'm just not going to do all that. And I said, okay, I tried to get her to expound a little bit. So explain to me, what is it that you're not going to do? Well, I'm not going to be, prepping on my food for the week. I'm not going to be measuring anything. I'm not going to be counting calories. I'm not going to be, and I respect her honesty for being so upfront about that. But now, as the professional on this side of the table, I have to figure out, based on where she is, how can I really help her? What can I, can I get her to at least step in the right direction? Like, because that, just like the goal setting sheet, now we're starting to touch on a person's whole belief system. Mm-hmm. And obviously we're not going to change that in one session. We're not going to change it overnight. And is that person even going to be receptive to change? How much change can I expect over what period of time? So right. This particular person, she's working out. If I had to put a number on it, she's at least 3 or 4 times a week. Now, if she can sustain that for the long run, yeah, she'll start seeing some benefits of that 3 to 4 times a week workout. But at some point, can we take a baby step in the nutrition area too? And what I would do with that person is, and I'm hesitant to change too much at one time. That's where we're getting into that stress management. So yeah, I understand you're gung-ho. You want to change everything today.
Too much at once, there's going to be loss of compliance and that crash and burn.
That's not sustainable. Not sustainable to change everything all at once. So let's maybe make one major change and let's take a baby step somewhere else. Just so you feel like this is real. Hey, I'm really doing this. So I can't continue eating the way that I was eating, but I don't want you to come out the gate full sprint and then peter out. This is not a 100-yard dash. This is a marathon. Mm-hmm. So let's set some realistic and sustainable goals. This is where you and I talked about micro goals. Let's do stuff that is sustainable, and over time we're building habits and we're stacking habits on top of each other to where it just becomes natural at some point. So right. So the question is, and that's where the art of our profession starts to come in. How can I deliver value today that will create that adherence, that long-term compliance, that will bring the change that is going to take 30 days, 60 days, 90 days to bring about? But I do want to offer some degree of value today. So one of the things I try to focus on for that unrealistic client is, and I'm just going off the cuff here, but I would say, number one, don't weigh yourself every day. I know people who weigh themselves every day and they have some emotional relationship to the number on that scale. If the number looks good, they feel good. If the number looks bad, they feel bad. I don't like that.
Right.
I don't want you to have such an emotional connection to that number, because there are many things that affect that number that shouldn't be playing with your emotions on a daily basis. So I would that's one area, and some people can't do it. Some people will continue to weigh themselves every day just because that's just them. Mm-hmm. However, I would try to get them to focus on some other aspect, something that they may very well be overlooking. How's your sleep been? How's work been? How's your relationship with your significant other been? You start noticing other things. Your skin starts clearing up. The way that you manage stress starts getting better. And these are the things that people may overlook, but those changes happen almost immediately. The I want to be back to my college weight, that's going to take some time. So let's focus on the things that we can see today, the things that we can feel today, those quick shot, this thing changed. I want you to enjoy that. The other stuff is going to take some time, and I try to, that just goes back to developing that trust relationship. I've been doing this for a long time. I have experience. Let me map out how this thing is going to go for you. let me tell you that, hey, there's a valley, there's a pitfall that's right around that corner. I'm preparing you for it. So when you get to it, it's there. And that is not the thing that causes you, 6 months of relapse. No, I'm telling you, it's right there. You're going to hit it, and we're going to work through it,
Right.
So
essentially with that unrealistic client, you need to just step back and find something that's short-term in their face they have a realistic perception on.
Right.
And start there. That's kind of the foot in the door.
Right.
It may have to be way off from this unrealistic permanent goal or actual reason they came to you initially.
Right.
We just got to find somewhere to get my foot in the door.
Right.
And wherever that is, that's where we got to start with, and we'll eventually try to work back to the reality of the original issue.
Because it's very realistic that this person has hundreds of faulty beliefs that they cling to, that have gotten them to where they are, and all you have to do is tear down one at a time, and that gives them that little boost of esteem. And it's like, hey, like you and I talk a lot about, oh, well, I can't squat because of XYZ, or I can't perform this motion because of whatever. And it's like, you and I know that's a faulty belief. As long as you continue to believe that, you won't be able to do that. So let's start that faulty belief system. That's something we can tear down within a week or 2 weeks or whatever. It's like, hey, I thought you couldn't squat below parallel, or I thought you couldn't do this, or, I thought you couldn't achieve a front rack, or I thought you couldn't snatch, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So this is where we get to reinforce the long-term journey. Like, hey, it's just not, the evidence does not show that you can achieve that result in this time period. It just does not show that. And if you can get there, you can't stay there. So I need you to trust me that I know this terrain better than you, and that I will help you navigate through to where you're trying to go. But that doesn't mean, I need you to suffer through 3 months, 6 months of drudgery in order to get where you want to go. That's not what this is about neither. So let's enjoy the journey. The way, they say, stop and smell the flowers. Well, sometimes we have to point out the flowers to them,
Sure.
Hey, there's a flower right there. Stop and smell that one.
Sure. Cool. Awesome, man. Well, that was definitely some good info that I needed. Glad we got to hit on those 3 major categories that we put them in. I was glad you helped me organize my thoughts there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good. There'll be a lot to splice up there and chew on. So we'll probably have to follow up with this one as well, because there's a lot more.
Sure. Like we barely scratched the surface. We could easily take each of those
and divide it up again
individually and spend a whole session on each individual client.
Yeah, and then the stages of change and behavior theory. Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there, but that was good. I think next time, whatever comes up first, if we either link up with Ray first to talk about movement and mobilization. I think we laid the groundwork for mobilization. Now he made the good call of wanting to make it applicable now. Like I think we had some talk on overhead squat or something like that. So we'll either do that conversation next, or if we can't catch him in time, we'll go into that article review.
Right. And I was racking my brain, as you were putting notes on the shared document, because